Okay, so the topics that we're covering today really is around blockchain. And first of all, before we look at what blockchain is, we've got to understand what are the issues that exist within the digital out-of-home marketplace. And then how do we solve those with blockchain? And then how are we implementing it using the Bidoo software? Now, the first thing really is the problems. So inaccurate reporting we think is the greatest problem right now in digital out of home. And that reporting could span from the number of displays something has had, the uptime for machines, the viewership on this advertising. And again, that inaccurate reporting stems really to every other problem that we normally have with digital out of home. And that's dead screens, live, adverts not being live, speed of delivery, and again, then there's the closed software. So I'm going to go through those one by one in detail here. So first thing is inaccurate reporting. If we don't know exactly what's being delivered on the screens, it's important, and it's going to allow for anyone to manipulate that data. So for example, for people that are advertising, they may book a campaign and spend $10,000 on it, but then not have those campaigns delivered, and the data is wrong. And if the data is wrong and it can be manipulated, there's no trust in the environment. You don't know when you're paying for something, is it being delivered, is it being shown? Inaccurate reporting really is the stem of all these problems. The second thing is dead screens. And I think I spend a lot of time walking through airports and shopping malls, and I find sometimes you have the blue screen of death, or you have a advert that's the wrong way around, or you have a screen that's switched off. And one of the issues is people are still paying for those screens. Even when they're not delivering advertising, they're still paying for those screens because there's no data integrity. A screen goes down. As a screen network owner, they never report this back to the advertiser. They'll try and increase the number of impressions for other screens, but never report it back. So with dead screens, you've got this problem of people paying for advertising and not being delivered. And that's a huge problem I've seen in numerous malls and marketplaces, but also the people that I've spoken to. They have to physically walk into their spaces, into the airports and malls to check whether those screens are switched on. And that's a huge issue for the industry. Number 3 is the advert being live. Some of the agencies that we've spoken to is they don't know whether their clients' adverts are actually live on the platform and being displayed. So they have to tell people yes and guess and say, yes, your advert is live. What blockchain allows us to do is understand when something goes live and report back on it. The fourth thing is our adverts being seen. The effectiveness really of advertising is getting those viewers' eyeballs to see your advertising. It's not effective anymore just to want to display advertising, but also have those adverts being seen and know that they're being seen by people, but also who's seeing this advertising. Number 5 is another problem that we've faced often from media agencies is the speed to publish. Also from brands, they want to get an ad live. It could take anything from a few days to a few weeks just to get an advert live. So the speed to publishing isn't there. And if we're trying to compete with people like Facebook and Google and Twitter, and they can get an advert live within minutes, sometimes within seconds on their platform, and here's Out of Home saying, I'll get your ad live within 8 weeks. It's not enough anymore. We've got to be faster. We've got to be instantaneous. If you want to be able to compete with the online marketplace, we've got to understand that we've got to be able to get adverts live within seconds. And the 6th one is closed software. Everybody's using all different kinds of pieces of software. A lot of them don't integrate with programmatics. They don't integrate with other avenues of sales to bring in advertising. And it's very, very closed. And that pushes media owners and media agencies to not be able to sell as effectively or sell all their space. And the average, I think, in the industry is around 60% of screens that are being used. And we've got 40% dead space that's not being used at the moment. Now, the 3 facets of blockchain that really can solve some of these issues are: 1 is the blockchain itself, 2 is tokenization, and 3 is smart contracts. And I'll go into detail exactly what those things are. And they're very, very new to the out-of-home industry, but they're not very new to other areas. They're being implemented by governments, by digital advertising companies. Google's implementing it, Facebook's implementing it, but right now nobody in the out-of-home space is implementing it. Mostly because they think it's too complicated, but it's not. It's very simple. So the first thing is, what is blockchain? That's the question everyone asks, is what is blockchain? Blockchain is simply this. If you've used Excel, put your hand up. If you used Excel, you've used Excel, right? It's as easy as Excel. Blockchain is simply a store of data. That's all it is. It's an immutable store of data. It's as simple as a text file, as a spreadsheet. It's simply lines of data that cannot be deleted. It can only be appended. So it means that that information integrity is there. Somebody can't go in and say, by the way, I'm going to tinker with this database and change the figures around so our campaign looks better or the campaign for our clients look better. So that data integrity, that's what blockchain is. The second element of blockchain is tokenization. Tokenization simply is the transfer of one piece of data to another wallet. And when that transfer of data happens, that data is a singular data. So when it moves, it can't be double spent. And again, we all know the biggest use of this data, right? I mean, the biggest use of tokenization is something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So we know that once that information has moved from one place to another place, that can't be respent. And that solves a lot of issues around sending transactions that can create an effect, potential campaigns. And I'll go through that in detail when we continue. The third thing is smart contracts. Now, smart contracts allows a tokenized and blockchain ecosystem to function. And what a smart contract does is simply this, is when you send a token to a smart contract is designed to respond in a certain way. So all you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to give you £1. When that pound is received, I will deliver for you 10 adverts. And this is what a smart contract does autonomously, without any interaction from human beings. It can push data from one area or person or a contract to another area, and that can deliver what it needs to deliver based on that smart contract and then return the output autonomously. But again, everything is transparent on the blockchain, so you know exactly what's happening. Now, some of these issues that we need to solve really in accurate reporting is purely around data integrity. And some conversation that I had yesterday is really about, hey, if we can't change the data, it means that we can't manipulate this information in the future. And it means that when a campaign is being delivered, the systems can write to the blockchain immediately. So all the time you're pushing and you're writing data back onto the blockchain. You're always writing. And then if that data is changed in the future, we know that didn't happen at that point in time. But we can also track exactly which device wrote that data. So we know exactly, in an IoT environment, exactly which screen pushed that data back into the blockchain, which screen delivered that information and the advertising on that network. Now, dead screens, we've all seen the blue screen of death and blank screens and ads the wrong way around. Now, what happens is, with a blockchain implementation, what you could do is you can have screens report back and tell them, by the way, I'm down right now. And this campaign, those credits, those impressions are not being delivered. And the system then takes those impressions that should have been delivered in one screen, takes it out, and can push it out into other screens. So the ability for you to make downtime less painful, get reported back and pushed onto other screens is a lot more efficient. But also, it's the clarity around it. So you know that if something goes down, you have a responsibility to fix it rather than hide it. And I think sometimes in the industry, it's so much easier just to not report this back to your clients. It's so much easier not to report this back to you, the screen was down. It's a reputational issue. It's a delivery issue. So the idea is actually the total transparency around downtime. It should be reported. And if it's on the blockchain, you know for certain that you have a responsibility to ensure that delivery didn't happen, and can we now make up for it on other screens? Because I think the effectiveness of the advertising, if it's depleted using false information, then the advertising isn't effective, the costs are too high for what the return they get, and that doesn't allow you to really get campaigns back again and say, by the way, this is the number of times it's delivered, and this is the effectiveness. And that honesty around reporting allows us to maybe possibly end up charging more for advertising, but more integrity around the delivery. Now, adverts being live. One of the things that we spoke to a large agency, Kinetic, was they don't know when their clients' adverts go live. And this is a huge problem. Their biggest department is the SME department. They speak to their clients, and their clients have tell the clients, we don't really know whether your ads have gone live or not. And the blockchain allows you to have a centralized data point where clients can check automatically any time whether their ads are being delivered at any point in time to any of those screens. So again, it's that honesty around reporting. When your ads are live, you know they're live. So any small business, small brands, agencies have access to an open data source where they can check the advert status and see whether it's being live, and also is it being delivered, but also how many are being delivered across the network. Okay, and ads being seen. I think this is a crucial and critical issue around screens. We've seen screens that have trees in front of them because the media owner hasn't paid their bill. We have screens that are switched off or positioned in a way nobody can see them. Now, by implementing a computer vision camera with the blockchain, you could understand exactly when your ads are being seen, who they're being seen by, and have that data recorded back onto the blockchain. So now you know the screens are live, you know your campaign is live, and you know that your ads are being delivered, but also they're being seen by people, and how many people are seeing those adverts. And then you can do all sorts of smarter things and understand exactly the movement of your audience, how many times, how many impressions, to how many people are being delivered. So you can calculate the density of impressions across different people. Like speed to publish. Now, blockchain really allows you, in an open network, to increase the speed of publishing. In essence, a blockchain transaction can take in around 20 seconds. So when you push an advert to go live, as long as everything else is correct and it's being approved by the right networks, the data of publishing is always there. You know that when the ad is being published, the ad can go live on the screen. It's being paid for and it can go live on the screen. And again, that uses tokenization. So tokenization element really is the publishing side of it. So for example, if you were to have an ad ecosystem where you were buying tokens, and tokens represented a 10-second ad space, you would hold the token, the currency for the advertising. When you send that token to a screen via a platform, that screen knows that token was received by you and what it was received for. It can then deliver this advertising and report back again. So tokenization allows you to really speed up, in essence, the advertising, because fiat payments or delayed payments can take a while, but tokenized payments are instantaneous. You send it, you receive it within seconds, you can see it's been received, and you can deliver the advertising. It's like waiting for payments to clear. So when you have a tokenized infrastructure and an open system, it allows you to deliver advertising almost instantaneously, knowing that actually I have received payment for this. So this works very, very well in a global ecosystem. If you're collecting and taking payments globally from people, instead of having to wait for bank money to clear through banks or cards or invoices, you can have a tokenized system which delivers, in essence, automatically the content itself and delivers the content itself automatically. And the sixth thing is closed software. So when you write on the blockchain, you normally open up the ecosystem, allowing third parties to integrate with you so that you know that data can be read, it can be written to, it can be utilized by third-party software. So think of it like an open API when you build. So on closed software, I think really stops us right now from lots of different systems from communicating with each other. There's hundreds of CMS systems out there. Each one has an integration point and an API point. Somebody has to do a lot of work with integrating every single one of them. But what tokenization and smart contracts does is it can open up your software. So if you have a smart contract with a functioning API that allows you to push information into your smart contract, it allows you to deliver the advertising a lot more efficiently. And I think eventually every single IoT device, every single billboard, and the operating system that sits on it can actually allow you to do this. And those devices can write straight into the blockchain and have its own smart contract system where you can push tokens into it and get it delivered. And what it does is something, I guess, a little bit different, because in business you're focused on owning the network. This is my network. I want to own this network. I want to profit from this network. But what smart contracts can do is have the actual and the last person in the point, the person who owns the physical hardware, give them a lot more power. So it allows them to open up their sales channel to everybody. So if you're using a smart contract-based delivery platform, you can say, actually, I can accept programmatic adverts from here. I can accept, from somebody else's CMS system advertising from there. I can accept it from somebody else's, advertising platform, whether it's online or offline, and that allows you to accept more advertising, but also run independently. You're not relying on a single sales channel or a sales force to pull business into your platform. Now, moving on, we've looked at all these issues around digital out of home, and we thought, how can we solve some of these issues? Now, we've been on a 2-year journey, so just to give you, I guess, a bit of background on myself. I'm ex-government security. I've worked with Capita, building large-scale payment systems. I was a part of the team that built the London congestion charging platform, BBC TV licensing, who were collecting payments of around 1.4 billion per month. So my background is all tech and security and large-scale systems. Shaz, my co-founder, he's a full-stack developer, and we're an investment of Manchester United Football Club. So it's a bit different in terms of investment type. But we're investment of Michael Edelson, who's one of the directors of Manchester United Football Club. Now, Michael's come on board basically and wrapped a team around us to allow us to grow. It was really, at the beginning, it was just 2 of us in a garage tinkering with out-of-home software, because what we were doing really was we were trying to think of ideas to build businesses. And we ran out of ideas, and we decided that we were going to watch a sci-fi movie in our garage, and that sci-fi movie happened to be Minority Report. And as we were watching Minority Report, we saw the scene where Tom Cruise walks towards a screen and the screen changes. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to build something just like that, where screens knew exactly who was walking towards it, and we can change based on exactly who was walking towards it. Now, they were using iris scanning, but at the time, there was something a lot more interesting happening in the beacon space. They called it iBeacon or BLE, BLE or Bluetooth 4.0. And we were able to tie in people's social media IDs to their physical IDs. So we knew exactly who was walking towards the screen. And we actually did an implementation in Manchester Arndale Shopping Centre, where we were able to pick up people's names and faces. So as they were walking towards the screen, we knew who they were and where they were. So we would say, hey, John, here's a pair of shoes that we think that you might like. Now, youngsters loved this. They went crazy over it. They were taking selfies with the screen. They were getting their friends involved. Slightly older people didn't like it as much. They thought it was intrusion of privacy. They felt that there was too much information that we knew about them. So we had to pull it out of the shopping mall, and we had to change the way it worked. So we actually created Bidoo from understanding how we can target people autonomously and how campaigns can grow rapidly across thousands of screens without doing much. So what we ended up building was Bidoo. And now Bidoo, the thing that it tracks is footfall, audience, and effectiveness, so ad recall lift. So looking at online, so we modeled what we were building not from out of home, but actually through Google, and what Google were doing, what Facebook were doing, what Twitter were doing, and how do we implement that ecosystem and that way of advertising and pull it down into the out of home space. And obviously there's things that had to change while we're doing it. Now, to give you, again, a brief around footfall tracking. Footfall tracking is basic. We just use computer vision cameras, we use an operating system in our box, and we calculate the number of people walking towards the screen. We calculate if eyes are looking at us and the dwell times and how long they look at us, and we store that information on people. So it's all anonymized data. It's all GDPR compliant, anonymized data. For our audience analytics, what we do is we calculate the facial features. So we know if somebody's male or female, whether they're wearing a hat, whether they're wearing glasses or have a beard, and we store that information alongside the demographic footfall information on that particular venue itself, but also that ad itself. An ad recall lift. We try and measure exactly how long somebody looks at a screen, and therefore whether they're able to remember your ad after a certain period of time. Now, the ad recall lift is a way of automating campaigns. So for example, if an ad recall lift, people remember your brand, we find that they're looking at your ad longer, we're able to recreate those campaigns and run them for longer. So as a campaign owner, you're able to understand which advert is getting the most eyeball time and therefore remembering your brand. Now, some of the things that we're collecting right now are age, gender, emotion, facial features, sunglasses, glasses, and dwell times. But what we're doing is we've been tinkering with expanding our data sets. So figuring out exactly what the visit duration is, how long does someone spend in a shopping mall or airport, what the brand recognition is, so what are they wearing right now. So using 2 methods, using computer vision and OCR, we're able to read content from people's clothing, but also be able to figure out exactly what they're wearing, what brands they're wearing, so we can see whether, are people wearing more Nike or more Adidas in a shopping mall or in an airport, and what age groups they are. Has there been a decline in brand penetration in a specific area or industry or type of venue? And this really gives us a lot of power around, what the habits of people are. Are they spending longer in a mall now? Are younger people spending more time in a mall or less time in a mall? And this allows us to calculate what we should be doing for campaign effectiveness when we're pushing this out into, when we're trying to sell campaigns to people. Actually, what can we target? What can we collect? What can we understand from the audience? Now, we did one of our partners, Zoo Media, did a test in one of their NISA stores to figure out, okay, collecting this information and collecting their till information, what we're able to gauge by changing adverts in real time based on passers-by. And that's an interesting case study, lasted for a month. And now, one of the biggest things was Ginster's chicken and mushroom slices. It had an 838% increase by placing a single-sided digital screen, so 55-inch digital screen on the window of a retailer at NISA. Now this shows that people are seeing the advertising, people are responding to advertising, and people are making those purchases. But as long as you are targeting people in the right way, and this shows really that these stores should be expanding and doing digital out of home because it's working for them. And I guess at the point of sale, or almost before the point of sale, it's important to get your brand into the minds of the prospects. And digital out-of-home advertising does work. And I guess this is the only way to target them if somebody's in a store. It's difficult to target somebody using web methods when they're in a store. So this is the most effective way to target people and get an uplift on sales. Now, deploying Bidoo, so what the things that we did was figure out what is the simplest way to build an out-of-home network. And we've seen so many pieces of software, where if you want to start your network, you've got to have a 10-hour training course, and you've got to spend 5 hours deploying a screen, and then you've got to train your guys on how to create campaigns. And we thought we've got to take all this out completely. There should never be a training course associated with Bidoo. It should be this simple. I mean, when you use your phone, your iPhone or your Android, you didn't have to attend the training course to operate your phone. And in the same way, we believe that you shouldn't have to have a training course to operate our platform. Now, what we've done is we've made it so simple. So when you deploy a screen into a venue, you simply complete a form with the information about the screen, the opening times, and the Wi-Fi SSID, and a picture of it. It generates for you a QR code. You show this QR code to the screen, and the screen then knows exactly where it is and what it is and how much it should bill. And that screen then instantaneously, within minutes, goes live on an open network on the Bidoo platform that allows anybody in the world to book that screen, and you as a network owner simply have to approve the ad. When you see the campaign come in, you see the budget, you see the campaign, the ads, you simply hit the approve button. Once you hit the approve button, within 60 seconds, the ad goes live onto the screen itself. So it's instantly deploying advertising from anywhere in the world to your network without any friction at all, without any third parties involved in the middle. And we've had people, put adverts for Coca-Cola and KFC, so McCann Advertising Group in Romania and Bosnia, where we have screens in 22 malls at the moment and a single airport, are pushing campaigns themselves onto the network. Now, to quickly go through it, again, the Bidoo screen is simply a standard LCD screen. There's nothing special about the screen itself. It's an LCD screen, but it has a camera and a box, and this is where our software sits. The box does all the processing work, and the camera is a computer vision camera that collects that information, pushes it back into our box, and then outputs it. The camera is simply, it's an LG camera. Nothing special about the camera. It's a HD camera. It's the box that does all the work. Our software on the box pretty much does all the work. So if you have an existing network, you can plug the box into the network, and you can get that live. Now, take it to the publishing process is so simple. You simply choose a type of ad. It can be a text ad, a template ad, an image upload, a video. Choose the type of content you're uploading. So if you upload an image, it could be a 1080p portrait and landscape. So again, for both formats, so he knows exactly which screen is which format and deliver the right advertising campaign and creative to those screens. You can edit and review your work. Once you've done that, you choose a location. So all the boxes that are plugged into any screens join the Bidoo network. It's an open network. Think of it like Airbnb or Uber for digital out of home. What we're trying to do is amalgamate all the smaller networks, all the small companies that have 5 screens, 10 screens, 15 screens, into a single powerful network that anybody can book across this network. And we then collect demographics. You can choose to target people. If you want to target just female only, male only, somebody who has a beard, or somebody who is wearing glasses, you can do that in a specific age range. And you set your budget and you publish. And the budget works just like Google AdWords. You set a daily budget, £5 a day, £10 a day, £20 a day, whatever you choose. It then takes that budget and automatically sends that campaign to the screens you've selected, pretty much the way Google does. The data that we collect right now is, again, we've been through the audience measurement, the gender, the age. And again, the management dashboard. This is the live view of the management dashboard. This is what it looks like. So it's quite a pretty dashboard. Gives you lots of information. But you can see things like what time people come into a mall. Are they happy or sad? What age groups coming? And we found for JLL, we did some tests. We found that most the mall that we had the cameras in had from 9 till 12 mostly a male audience. After 12 o'clock, the female audience increased. Men came in quite happy into the malls. Around 5 p.m., they became quite depressed. So they were going home. So we find a lot of interesting information that we can collect from this. And again, so appearance, do people's appearance change over the course of the day or type of location? Footfall is a live metric that goes on there. And all this is manageable on mobile, because I think we get very lazy. We don't want to log into our laptops. So all this is available and accessible we have a smartphone app that we've built, but also a responsive, the entire platform is responsive. And the great thing is the entire Bidoo platform, and you're probably looking for a price, is free. So we offer this to people completely free of charge. We want them to use it. And the way our charging mechanism works is, if people are using the system to book paid campaigns, we take a percentage of the charge on the campaign. So give it a go, try it out, see if it works for you, see if you can use it on a small part of the network. Come and talk to me. Let's see how it works for you, and we'll demonstrate to you how easy it is and how within a day you can start a Bidoo network and a digital screen network, whether it's 1 screen or 50 screens, as long as you have the locations, and you can get started with all the audience analytics, with the autonomous delivery, with the self-service platform that you can give to media agencies and small brands and the local butchers to book their own advertising. Okay? This is changing the way things work, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much.